we can do it my way. I can do it if you want. I don't care.
We'll just do it this way, and then Melissa can advance the slides at her leisure.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking. Okay. You're the co-host, so you should be able to do it now. And then the applicant is here, so I'm going to let him in as well.
It's the gray one.
This one?
Yep.
Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Hi.
All right. My name is Andrew Rennick. I will be chairing the meeting this evening. With us here is Wes Marriott and Tom Halliday, my fellow board members. As we are meeting via Zoom, we have elected to dispense with the typical prayer and Pledge of Allegiance, and we'll kind of move right on into the meeting after I read this notice into the record. So it is Thursday, February 18th, and it is just after 5 p.m. This meeting will be conducted entirely via electronic means. On February 2nd, 2021, in accordance with Utah Code 52-4-207, paragraph 4, it was determined that conducting meetings of the Provo Board of Adjustment with an anchor location such as the Provo City Council chambers presents a substantial risk to the health and safety of those who may be present there. These are the facts upon which we have made this determination. The World Health Organization has classified novel coronavirus disease, also known as COVID-19, as a pandemic. The U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention state that COVID-19 is easily spread from person to person between people who are in close contact with one another. State Public Health Order 2021-3 addresses the ongoing COVID-19 public health emergency and establishes minimum standards to address the unique circumstances in different locations. Utah County is currently listed as having a high level of coronavirus transmission as determined by the state's transmission index metrics. Physical distancing measures will be difficult to set up and maintain in the Community and Neighborhood Services Conference Room and other meeting rooms. This meeting will be available to the public for live broadcast and on-demand viewing on YouTube at utah.com/user/Provo channel 17 and on Facebook at www.facebook.com/Provo channel 17. All right. So we have one item on our agenda this evening, and that is this. Tate Murphy is requesting a variance to the side yard setback to allow for subdivision of the existing property to create a flag lot at 963 West, 500 North in a R1 6A zone, Dixon neighborhood. All right. So I guess we'll turn to staff for their report.
Hey, hello everyone. I'm Melissa McNally. So Tate Murphy is seeking a variance on his property located at 963 West, 500 North. And the applicant plans to subdivide the almost 20,000 square foot property, creating a flag lot with the pole extending up the west side of the existing home. You can see in this Google photo right here, the west side and the property here. The existing structures are located on the north end of the lot with a large rear yard. The lot is approximately 94 feet wide and 203 feet deep. The garage is located on the east side of the home, with the utility lines for the dwelling located underneath the current driveway. The existing home is approximately 26 feet from the west property line, and creating a flag lot will reduce the distance from the existing structure to the new property line to only 6 feet, falling just short of the 10-foot requirement. Placing the pole on the east side would require demolition of the existing garage and relocation of utilities. And here is the proposed site plan. You can see the proposed flag right here. The applicant is requesting a variance to the side yard setbacks to allow the flag lot access on the west side of the property. However, there is no construction associated with this variance. This would just be a new property line on the west side, and the structures will not be any closer together. So we have received a few phone calls from neighbors voicing some concerns about the properties once the second home is built, about the properties being turned into rentals. There's also been some concern about the utility pole and being able to access that on the southwest corner down here of the lot. And also just some general concerns on the height of the home that will be built and the privacy of the neighbors and their backyards. So that was feedback that we received from the neighborhood. And we feel like this is a good idea. We feel like the variance is on the west side is a smart idea and recommend approval. And just for your visual reference, this is the west side of the home, the first picture, and the second picture is the east side with the existing garage and driveway.
All right. So before we jump into public comment, let's have questions from the board members to staff. Wes, do you any questions you want to start us off?
Yeah. So so I read over the report, and I'm just wondering about it meeting the 5 criteria and what staff feels how it meets those. I'd just like to hear, obviously you're saying it's approval. Personally, we're a semi-judicial board, so we're not supposed to be as have our personal interests involved, but I personally think this is a cool thing. I was excited to see that the staff, approved this. So it's an exciting thing, but as the Board of Adjustment, we still need to state and make sure that it meets the criteria to request or to approve that variance. So I was just wondering what, further insights on those 5 that maybe you could talk to for staff on that, because I know there was some that was questionable. And so I'd just like to hear what you guys have to say about that.
Okay. Are you going to jump in?
Let me jump in on that one, Wes. Great question. This is Robert. I'm off the screen, but my voice is still here. So as far as the Board of Adjustments granting a variance, you can do whatever you want.
Yeah, well, right.
That's your decision. Okay, that's your decision. But in this case, in the staff report, we pointed out that first hardship question, in reality, I think if you followed the very, very strict letter of the law, you could say that this has some self-imposing hardship situation in it.
Mm-hmm.
However, because realistically, this is an action by the applicant, it doesn't have to be granted. However, if you think about the overall idea of the neighborhood, this is a single-family neighborhood where 6,000 square foot lots are the required minimum. This lot has almost 20,000 square feet.
Right.
In technicality, they have enough lot area for almost 3 lots. And in that respect, there are some questions of the justification that are kind of at odds with each other. One of which being, would the property owner be denied a reasonable property right? And the being denied a reasonable property right seems to be in a little bit of conflict with that self-imposed hardship. And we took all of those things into account. And we thought about the general plan desires for this neighborhood and how this would fit in, and came to a strong conclusion and recommendation that it would be appropriate to go ahead and grant the variance, given those specific circumstances.
Right. Okay. Yeah. That helps a lot, because in reading it, and studying it, that was one of my main questions, where, the literal enforcement of this title wouldn't cause an unreasonable hardship. So, to your point, we can vote however we want within the bounds of us trying to follow these 5 criteria, right? But we just need to be able to say, okay, I feel comfortable that they meet these based on these things, right? And have that on record, rather than just saying looks good, And so I appreciate you helping me see a little bit of the direction in that too.
That's a great question. Thank you.
Tom, any questions you'd like to pose? Oh, or Wes, are you any more questions? Yeah,
I was just gonna say, so is the new area okay, so the old area, we have the new that would be with the driveway and all that. What would be the size of the now old area after the subdivision?
See, I've got it right here. Hold on.
Let's
Okay.
move that to, can we move back the slides?
Okay. So it would leave the existing area, where the existing home is now, with just over a 7,300 square foot lot.
Okay, so it's within that bounds. Okay.
Yes. Yes.
Which looks like it's not significantly smaller than, say, the neighboring lot to the west.
That's correct.
Yeah.
Okay.
And the interesting thing about this variance, Melissa talked about this, but the interesting thing about this variance is that from the street, the streetscape won't look any different, right? So currently you go along and you see this, that top left picture is the view from 500 North. And so there
should be a driveway there anyway.
Yes, so there'll be 10 feet of asphalt there.
Mm-hmm.
Well, there's nothing that would preclude the applicant from putting a driveway there for his own purposes anyway.
Right.
That's correct.
Yeah. I mean, unless he sold the property behind it or something like that. Right.
Sure. I mean, that changes things.
Another question. Oh, go ahead, Andrew.
Well, I just wanted to, my understanding is really this, if it wasn't for this, 4 feet, this wouldn't have come to us at all. Like it would have approved administratively.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. That was my other question, right? Basically, it's like, why is this in front of us? Is it just because of the 4 feet? If not, it would just go to whatever, some approval somewhere. And
yeah, I mean, and it seems to me there's no real change. I mean, it's we're talking about imaginary lines. Yeah. But anyway, I was hoping we could maybe speak to, during the staff's presentation, it was raised concerns about the pole, the height of the structure, rental properties, privacy. I'm just wondering if we can maybe ask staff to maybe speak to each of those.
Okay.
To the extent that they're valid concerns.
Yeah.
Right. So as far as so there are utility poles in the southwest corner of that property.
Whoops. So
that
back here, right?
Right. And it became more of an issue because I guess the power went out over the weekend, and the city did need access to that backyard and to restore power. I guess the transformer blew or something like that.
Something that would be nice.
So that did become an issue. And which I spoke with Mr. Murphy about and let him know those specific concerns of the neighborhood. And that's something he said he would address if he needed to.
And if you want, I spoke with a gentleman from Provo City Power, and he said that it would in no way affect their ability to fix power poles what he said is I pay my men and women good money to climb those poles. And so if they can't get there with the truck, they can always climb a pole like they do in the other areas. So he said it won't be a problem at all, is what Provo Electric said.
Okay.
Sorry to cut in.
No, by all means.
No, that helps.
Yeah.
And then I don't know that there's really any reasonable grounds to object to a new construction, or and they're not even talking about construction this time. We're just talking about kind of a new property, worrying about height and rental issues, trusting of course that the height is going to be subject to existing regulations anyway.
Yes.
Yeah, so both of those things are actually already governed in our zoning code. Height is regulated by the R1 zone. Occupancy is regulated by our zoning code, and it's the same for any single family dwelling, right? One family or 3 singles.
Yeah.
So.
I don't have any more questions for staff personally, so.
I don't either. Tom?
A few of my questions were, does the homeowner, is he the one filing for this zone change? And it sounds like he is.
Yes, he's the one filing the variance.
So it sounds like he's going to still live in the front home, or at least one of the homes then.
Yeah, our plan right now.
You're able to, you can talk to that.
I'm spending my evenings right now redoing it. We just had our second baby, so it's taking a little bit longer than I had anticipated. But yeah, our plan is to live in the front home and then hopefully construct the back home and then probably sell the front house. Is what we're doing right now.
Yeah, so, I think that takes care of the worries about rentals and whether it'll be homeowners that'll live there. I think it, the biggest hardship here is the fact that every one of the other homes, it looks like, or lands have been subdivided, and this is the only one that's left that doesn't have any frontage to it, and yet it's the largest lot there. And so it looks like to me that it'd be the correct use to make that a flag lot and give them the opportunity to have a home in there.
Yeah. I mean, personally, and this is maybe irrelevant, but I mean, I don't love the idea of flagpole lots. I wish planning was such that, they weren't, there wasn't reason to want or need them. But given that that's there, and that we, there's an opportunity to make use of that land, I mean, I don't. Anyway, before we let's let Tate jump in and make his presentation and ask questions that he may have.
Sure.
Sorry, yeah. So just a little background. So me and my wife bought this property back in like early November, late October, and have spent some time, remodeling the inside a little bit. And when we originally bought this property, I talked with the city planners, and they said because of the code, it would be possible to do a flag lot. I thought originally that I was going to have to tear down the garage, but having spoken with the city, they said, it would be better for the whole neighborhood if you kept the aesthetics of the house with the brick garage intact. And, you didn't have to mess with the utilities and how that works with the city infrastructure and everything. So they were actually the ones that suggested, the city surveyor, Chad, especially, to try to get this variance, which, obviously when you look at the lot, it makes a lot of sense putting that on the west side. So, looking at this and I guess the hard part is if this doesn't, go through, then, I'll have to evaluate and kind of my original proposal of tearing down the garage, which I don't think really does anyone that much good. Trying to, change the skin of the side of the house so it doesn't match that brick and that nice character of these homes in this area. So, I've talked to a couple neighbors have come over and spoken with me, and talked about the flag lot, and I just wanted to kind of I talked to Melissa on Tuesday and just, told me to reiterate a little bit that this isn't for the flag lot, approval of the flag lot, rather just, which side the drive aisle would go on, whether it's tearing down the garage or that other side. So that's kind of all I think that's all I have to say, unless anyone has any more questions for me.
I don't have any questions for you.
Me neither. I guess would now be a good time for us to open up for public comment.
We do have one person. And Melissa, if you could change the screen, yeah. Oh, now we have two. Okay, so a caller ending in the phone number of 957. Go ahead and speak.
We invite you to state your full name and address before you begin.
My full name is Daniel Clement. My address is 960 West 400 North. I am the property directly behind Mr. Tate. And the notice we got clearly states that this here is for a flag lot on property 963 East, not 963 West. So I don't think there's been enough of the neighborhood getting the correct information to actually fit in on this meeting.
Okay, well, should we maybe direct that to staff?
Yes, say that again. You're suggesting that there hasn't been enough public outreach because of. Say that again.
Yes, it was listed as 963 East, 500 North on the public hearing notice for you guys, but the property is actually 963 West, not 963 East. So, like me, I was just going to toss it until I flipped it over on the back and noticed that the back map was correct, but the address that they're actually proposing is incorrect. And I've talked to my neighbors that are also the property right exactly behind theirs about this, and their concern is too that they're going to subdivide it and put more than a single house there and put a couple of houses in there. Now this property's been flipped twice now, and it's been owned 3 times since I've been here, and that's just in the last 5 years. So are we going to flip the house and claim that we're just going to live there, or what's the deal with that?
Okay. Yeah.
Maybe,
Sorry,
would you like to speak to that, and then we can get staff to address as well?
Sorry, as far as living there, our plan is to live there until we grow out of it. It's a 2-bedroom home. So, I imagine probably when we have our next kid or two, that's why we want to build the house behind it. But that's our current plan.
And if you're going to live in the house behind that, then I have no problem with that. As long as there's going to be just one house, not, 3 little houses back there, that's okay.
Yeah, and say your name again.
My name's Daniel Clement.
Yeah, Daniel, Mr. Clements. So what we're here to discuss is whether he can get this variance approved or not. If he were to try and build 3 houses on there, then you would definitely be able to raise that with the with Provo City, and they would put a stop to that without the proper handling. Right now, what we're deciding is whether he can subdivide it, and that's all we can really decide on tonight. And so, so if there turns into a situation where he's building 3 houses back there, that actually doesn't impact our decision for tonight. That is more of a decision of what the city how the city would respond to that, which they would come and shut it down. If that were the case and he didn't have the correct permits and everything. Right now, we're just saying one more lot based on the variance of the 4 feet on the driveway. So
Let me jump in actually, Wes, sorry, and just say 3 houses is not permitted, obviously. This is a single lot in a residential neighborhood, so you get 1 dwelling per lot.
Yeah.
And that's how that works.
Yeah. The thing is, there's a precedence right around the corner where they stuck 3 houses in a little lot just like that.
Yeah, and you know that it's hard. Obviously, that's illegal. So, you know,
the city approved that one too. So
yeah,
Okay.
we're in full support of you, Mr. Clements, and that. Like you know, what we can decide on tonight is just the variance and whether that's legal or not, and whether he does illegal activities on that property is kind of beyond the Board of Adjustment. And so while we hear, you know, the obvious concern,
I would hate that too. If that were the case, right?
Say that again.
I mean, I was saying I would hate that too if that were the case. You know.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
We hear you.
But it clearly looks like that is not the case. He's submitted plans for a single home, so that's pretty much what he's got to stick to.
Yeah, and I don't even know.
And say this is public comment, not necessarily public discussion back and forth. So
yeah, it's kind of hard. It's hard when you're on Zoom.
But I know it's really hard. But we do have, I think we have another caller waiting as well.
Yeah, that's
all right, Mr. Clement. I appreciate your comment. It's you know, well considered, and and we'll kind of have our next comment.
Yeah, and sorry, Robert, we could probably do better. Zoom is just it gets
invites discussion. It's very good.
Yeah, it does. So yeah, I guess we'll refrain from commenting on their public comments.
Yeah, that's probably better.
Yeah.
Thank you for the correction.
Caller ending in 500. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Push.
Sorry, Robert. We could probably do better. Zoom is just it gets.
This invites discussion. It's very good.
So yeah, I guess we'll refrain from commenting on their public comments.
Yeah, that's probably better.
Thank you.
Caller ending in 500. If you'll press *6. Oh, okay. There you go.
Okay. Sorry, this was really loud. It's hard to get through all this feedback. Okay, so my name is Nathan Murray. I live at 405 North, 700 West, and I'm the Dixon and neighborhood chair. And so I had some residents of the neighborhood just call me and have some of the similar concerns that Mr. Clements had. And so I just wanted to make sure they were represented here. One, the notice given had the incorrect address, as was already stated. So residents felt they didn't have enough time or even realize that it was about the property near them so that they could address that. And then the other point, and that's a question for me and just maybe a frustration from the residents is, well, why have this ordinance at all if you're going to just have a variance against it? I guess what's the purpose of the ordinance, and what's the justification for just going 6 feet closer to the property line? What's the point of the ordinance in the first place? That's my question.
Thank you. Are there any other issues that residents have raised?
Sorry, I muted you. Okay, there you go.
Okay, yeah, I had the same issues that were brought before by Melissa, were I think the main issues that they had.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Do we have anyone else on the line for comment?
There isn't. There are a couple of listeners, but none of them have raised their hand to speak. There is a delay on YouTube though, so maybe let's wait a minute.
Okay.
Just to make sure. Okay, still no other hands, so I think we are good to move forward.
Okay, so we will say the public comment period is closed. And that kind of gives us an opportunity to deliberate, talk about what we think.
Chair, can I just make a couple comments on those?
Absolutely, jump in.
I thought I appreciated those callers calling in the public comment period. I just want to speak quickly to two of those items. The first one regarding the mix-up of address. When this item was noticed, there was an inadvertent error. E and W are next to each other on a keyboard. So it did go out as 963 East. In light of that, we submitted an amended agenda. However, if you feel comfortable going forward, that's your prerogative. Otherwise, it could be continued until the next meeting. We can renotice it. I'll just make mention though that our postcards were sent to the correct addresses. Everybody in the vicinity of the specific property, and there's been a sign on the property indicating the action of a variance request. So it's kind of up to the board, but we're happy to support you in whatever you feel comfortable doing. And then I just wanted to also comment on Mr. Murray's comment regarding, excuse me, zoning. The idea of zoning is that is the customary rule, and that we try to follow that as closely as possible. And however, there are specific contextual circumstances once in a while that warrant a variance from those very strict and rigid rules. And that's why we have the variance process. And we don't take lightly the idea that that's what this is a variance from those strict and rigid rules. And we, in this specific case, found sufficient reason to say, here's a chance to allow a new single-family home in a residential neighborhood, and it contribute to the longevity of that neighborhood. And by just amending an artificial line by 4 feet, there's no structural difference between what will be there. And so for those reasons, that's why in this specific context recommended to grant the variance. But at this point, I'll turn it back to you. That's all I wanted to say on that. And if you have questions for us, we're happy to, but go ahead and deliberate.
I appreciate that. Those were questions on my mind.
Thank you. Yeah. Well, I guess we probably deliberate about continuing or staying the course.
Yeah, I think that's probably our first question. I think obviously there's need for appropriate due process. I do want to acknowledge that a continuance does put a burden of some sort on the applicant, kind of a delay, and would certainly be kind of the more conservative and cautious route. I find myself trying to think, and maybe this is an unfair thought, but I'm trying to think of, given more opportunity, for example, more information about any of the things that have already been raised. I don't know that any of them would amount to a sufficient reason in my mind to at that point, reject the application.
Yeah, I think that where I'm at is the only reason that we would continue this is if, sorry, am I good to talk?
I can hear you.
Okay. The only reason that I would continue this is if some of the neighbors could bring more information regarding the variance that would help us. And I don't see that happening, but I could be wrong. But I also think that it's fair to recognize that Robert mentioned that although they did mistype something on the public notice, they still sent out adequate attempts to let people know if they wanted to join and participate. And so
likely actually going beyond what, kind of might be a legally required threshold.
Yeah. So I'm kind of at the point where I would probably vote to just vote on this rather than continue it. So that's where I'm at.
Tom, how you feeling?
I feel a lot the same way, that they reached out and they tried to do everything they could to make sure things were corrected. They sent more notices out, and they also made sure the property had a listing there of what was going on. So I would believe that there has been adequate information given so that the people in the neighborhood would be able to know what was going on, and they could give their input. The neighborhood chair has been able to hear the voices of quite a few people, and it sounds like we're getting information and answers to all those questions they had. The biggest problems was that they feared it was going to be apartments or something or that neighbor of that nature, and it looks like we resolved that. I believe we can go ahead and put it to a vote.
My sense is that we're not deciding anything to do with what structures are built. We're not doing anything with whether or not rentals can be put there. I think there are adequate other measures in place that should the neighborhood have legitimate and concerns that need to be considered. There are still further steps where those are able to be heard, which again kind of gives me more confidence in moving forward with the imaginary line change and moving there.
My thoughts, just real quick, my thoughts are this: is that, to your point, Andrew, like if Mr. Murphy wanted to build a house and wanted to rent it out, and he decided to rent the current house, it's totally legal, right? So whether the neighborhood wants it or not, that's kind of within his rights. I do want to just make a comment to the people who spoke and the neighborhood chair and the people who are listening that I understand as a homeowner in Provo that you want your neighborhood to kind of follow the rules. You want people to, you don't want, crazy things happening. And so we hear you in that. I just want to say, because I feel it's necessary that we mention all of these, there are the 5 criteria: the literal enforcement of the title, the special circumstances, the enjoyment of the right to however you say it, the granting the variances will, I have to read it now I'm looking at it. Granting the variance is essential to the enjoyment of the substantial property right possessed by the other property in the same district. There are multiple places that have the same situations, shape, size, everything. And the variance won't impact the general plan, and the spirit of the title is observed. So I just feel like, for the most part, it's a little bit touchy with the first one, in my opinion, but I feel like it meets the criteria for it to be passed. And so I'm kind of in the place where, what happens after, if Mr. Murphy ends up doing something different or illegal, the people around in the neighborhood are open and they can do whatever they want to report whatever's going on. But if you're staying within the bounds of building and doing everything, then that's totally within your right. And I feel like this is something that I would approve. So that's kind of where I'm at with it, is that I would approve it for those 5 reasons. It's meeting those 5 applications.
So are we ready to ask for a motion?
Yeah, I motion to accept the staff report's recommendation to approve the variance.
You have a second?
I'm Wesley Marriott.
I can second that.
All right, so let's.
Before you proceed, let me just jump in with one procedural thing. Because there are only 3 Board of Adjustments members tonight, in order to approve the variance, it has to be unanimous to go on it. If there's one dissenting vote, then that counts as a no, and the variance would be denied.
Oh, okay.
So I just wanted to make sure that all of you know that since there are 3 out of the 5 here tonight, we have to have unanimity.
Okay.
All right, so I appreciate that. Thank you for that procedural item. I think we're ready to vote. So I, Wes Marriott?
Yeah, I vote to approve.
Tom Halliday?
I vote to approve.
And I'm Andrew Rennick, and I also vote to approve. All right. So with that, we are unanimous, and the variance is approved, and Mr. Murphy can move forward in his process.
Thank you very much for your all time tonight. I really appreciate you staying late for me. Thanks.
Good luck with everything.
Yeah, and thank you for engaging the process and being above board, and and for the efforts you make for in behalf of your neighborhood. So I think that will close our meeting unless staff has any other items that I may have overlooked, and we will.
I think you can also, yeah. Oh no, sorry. Go ahead.
All right. Well, thank you everyone for your time. Thanks for showing up, and we will see you again next time, whenever that may be.
Have a good.
Everybody.
Good night.
Thank you all.
See you guys.
Take care.